second time I'm recording this tonight because I've had no sound for the other episodes. This is Watch with Ray. You'll notice I have a different wig on tonight, like than my normals. That like the one you've been seeing me around town in, you know, like the YouTube town, is that cute little black one that I've been used as Lydia Dietz. A certain furry gentleman named Bucky Sebastian Barnes decided to eat it today. Still cleaning up pieces of it off the floor. My life is a hellscape. Anyhow, so yeah, you know what? It's fine. I really enjoyed this episode, so I get to talk about it twice. Cool. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm also drinking. So, but I'm always drinking. I'm not even gonna tell you what I'm drinking because it's got 14% alcohol in it. That's the day I've had. Cool. So, 5th episode of 8 of Interview with a Vampire. Now, see, it's funny. Some places say interview with the vampire, and some are interview with a vampire. This is interview with the vampire. This is again, buckle up. This is a title. A Vile Hunger for Your Hammering Heart. Now, it's one of the shorter ones. Oh, I get it. Okay. All right, guys. I gave you a disclaimer. I gave you a prediction, I should say, not a disclaimer. I gave you a prediction of what was happening. Guess what? I should have played the lottery. It is fucking coming to fruition. That was the last happy episode. I mean, and it wasn't really happy. This is not happy at all. This is beginning of the end. No, not even beginning. This is the end. Yeah, it'll never be happy again. So, needless to say, 5th episode, where we come from the last episode. Claudia's like, fuck humans, don't care, want to be a vampire, also losing my shit. Like, losing her goddamn mind. Okay. Right off the bat, I am so stupid. I realized on this episode, you know what I get on here and gush about every fucking episode where I'm like, oh, the fucking orchestra tuning up and the beautiful, you know, like that looks like a cityscape. It's a vein. It's a blood vein. I just realized that tonight. Just gonna take another drink on that one. All right. Shalancha, the toast of our people. Okay, so there's a lot of things that happen in this episode. I'm not going to go into everything. There's a couple things I have to kind of spoil to talk about, but this is very heavy Daniel and Louis present, because what Daniel's doing is he is reading through all of Claudia's diaries. And we learn from very on, that's also what's happening here is they're still very antagonistic, like very, like we open with Louis drinking from Rashid. It is Rashid. I want to double check. I don't want to calling the actor the wrong. Yeah, Rashid. So hot. And drinking from Rashid as he's like pretty much giving like an overview of what's happening in these diaries. So I think it's Louis talking through Rashid as he's drinking, because his mouth is preoccupied. But we can see Daniel starting to get a little bit more and more frustrated with Louis in this episode, because this one is definitely, it's again Claudia centric, but the rest of the series is, I think for the most part, it's gonna be Claudia centric. We are still only in 1923. We have not moved very far in time. And I think the main crux of this episode is Louis has these diaries. He's letting Daniel read them because he wants Daniel to put a spin on them. He wants them to put him in a positive light. And what Daniel is saying is, as a journalist, I cannot censor or bias my writing that way. What I do is say, here it is, you decide. And what Louise keeps saying is, I don't want to exploit her. I don't want to exploit her. And he says, that is really literally not up to you. Whatever bend I were to put on this, the public is going to have their own interpretation of it. They're going to see it for whatever way that they want it. So it doesn't matter what spin you want me to put on it, which I won't. They're going to see them in the light that they have, which means, I mean, and it's really interesting is we do not get a lot of this, the modern. I would assume this is like, well, we are kind of clued in to what this book means to the vampire world, but because again, this is very early on, so I'm not ruining, but you guys need to catch up. It's hard to talk if I don't, is what Rashid says to, like, he gets very defensive of Louis, and he says, Daniel, when you publish this book, this is a suicide. It's an interview. It is an interview to a suicide. That is what's happening. Is that as soon as he publishes this book and the knowledge of actual vampires gets released to the general public, they're going to literally crawl up this tower. Draculas are going to crawl up this tower and murder him for uncovering their secret that has been held for thousands of years. I just want to know I want you to know the extent of what is going to fucking happen. And so even that's not swaying Daniel at all, which good on him for that. Because it's like, no, as again, a journalist, you asked me to be here and write this. You sought me out, bitch. Like, you made your decisions, so you are stuck with them now. I am just writing from what I see. And I really enjoy Jacob Anderson's just performance overall, but I really enjoy how different he makes modern present Louis as opposed to 1923 and earlier Louis. It's very much like the modern Louis is stayed, reserved, very controlled. There is a moment of where he breaks that control in this episode, in the modern era, or the present time, but it is so different than the very frenetic and uncontrolled and still very emotional Louis of 1923. And I give absolute kudos to fucking Jacob Anderson for, as an actor, to be able to take the same character, because there's other movies that there's a character who's portraying a person who's portraying the same character through time and doesn't make him different, him or her different, make them different. So you don't see any sort of growth or change or character development with him. It is an absolute character development. And I think the important thing you see is there's a moment where he's talking with Daniel, and I want you to I'm pointing this out because it is such a juxtaposition between present and what happens at the very end of this episode. Daniel's pushing him. He is pushing him, and it's about these diaries and how he's going to release them, because there are 4 pages that are ripped out. Something happens on those 4 pages. We know what they are. Trigger warning if you are a sexual assault survivor. There's nothing shown, but you understand that's what happens. So and Daniel is pushing him like, why did you pull this out? I mean, honestly, those 4 pages, while graphic, I'm sure, might have given a little bit of empathy to the readers, possibly, by understanding what she went through. It's Claudia. And but as he's pushing Daniel and pushing Daniel, uh Louis is just doing this on the table. You can see my hand. He's doing this, and his nail is just cutting into the table. He's grounded in, and but he's just otherwise completely motionless. And it is so controlled. It's amazing. Now, hold that thought, put a pin in that. Let's go back over a little bit. I won't spoil much in this episode because so much happens. Also, remember when I said a baby's not going to fix your horrible relationship? Baby's not going to fix your horrible relationship. That's what's happening in this episode. Mm-hmm. A lot of things come to fruition. This is one of them. Yeah. A baby or a dog is not going to help you at all, guys. Yeah. So Claudia is sneaking out to kill, like, Louis is worried because he doesn't see Claudia eating. But what's actually happening, she's sneaking out. Oh, is she sneaking out? She's sneaking out. She's waiting for both of them to be preoccupied and then sneaks out. And she is killing indiscriminately and not burning the bodies. She's just burying them. She thinks she's doing a good job. She tells them where she buries them. And they're like, yeah, that's like in the Gulf, just at like sea level. So the next time the water rises, and guess what happens? There's a hurricane. Guess what happens? Floaters, as they were being called. So we found out minimum. I'm not even gonna tell you. No, I'm gonna tell you the minimum number. It's a lot. It's a lot. We also see Lestat fucking freeze time like Tom Cruise, or like Tom Cruise, like Zach Morris. Oh, it's amazing. He stops time because they are kind of there's obviously an investigation. There's fucking bodies floating everywhere, and a lot of them are missing pieces of soft tissue, like toes and thumbs. So like somebody's looking into it. Like FYI, someone's looking into it. So they stop time and they kind of get the 411 that somebody's checking their house. Someone's searching their house as we speak. So they go back to the house and oh yeah, they're there with Claudia. Claudia has just eaten 2 or 3 people, and the 3 pills she drank out of were alcoholics. So she's fucking hammered. And we find out she's been taking trophies. Why? Not only like toes and thumbs, she got a body. Bitch has got a body in her bedroom, like in her closet. So when I say Claudia's not doing so well mentally, Claudia ain't doing so well mentally. So it comes to like blows at this point, and Claudia leaves. And this is the, well, so something happens before then. Because Claudia's been trying to make vampires. She's been trying to make a vampire for herself. She says, who am I supposed to love? Oh, girl, break my heart. And she says, this is to Lestat. You cruel as the devil to refuse me one love when you've got 2. And you can just see Louis look over like, bitch, is there something you gonna tell me? And coming to find out. So Claudia goes, white girl down in Algiers, sings torch songs, the flat no nothing ass. Been following you, Uncle Les. And it comes out that yeah, he's still been fucking that Charlotte, I think it is. I don't know, I can't remember the torch singer, the singer from the nightclub from the episode before. Yeah, they're still fucking. In fact, like he's like in a relationship with her more than just drinking and fucking her, because she shows up outside of his house in this one. So because of like all these bodies are floating up, they're like, yeah, we should probably go underground for like a little bit. Lestat wants to move, and Louise like, no, if she comes back, I want to be here in case she comes back. And so in essence, he's choosing Claudia. And this whole time, at one point, he says something like, he's such a smartass. He's like, it like gave me no, like it gave me nothing but like cheer, but he's like, I lived for the times where I could fucking just stick it to Lestat. Like, I piss him off on purpose. Again, these are things that you do when you're in a horrible marriage or horrible relationship. You do things to piss the other one off, to be like, see, this is why I gotta get away from you. Or if you're just in a yeah. Yep. And yeah, there's a lot happens. So Claudia's been going to school while she's away. And yeah, she ends up coming across, so before she leaves, and this big spat that she has with Lestat and Louis, because they read her diaries. And Lestat's like, when you meet actual vampires out there, fucking buckle up. And the poor thing all just wants to know what she is, why she, like what this whole being a vampire means. Kind of like what Louise said in the episode before, like, can't we use our fucking powers for good? We've got this super strength, super speed. We can fucking hear. Why aren't we doing something with it? Like, let's go stop some wars and shit. And she's kind of the same idea. It's like, I want to know what I can do with this. Like, can I help something? And it's more than just being a fucking vampire and fucking and drinking, and they can't get drunk. Well, you can get drunk off of blood, but you can't get drunk of like straight alcohol. So it's like, what's the point unless we can do something with it? And there's some things with Louise' family. And there is, so in the summary of this episode says, Claudia's activities and curiosities present continued challenges for Louis and Lestat. Her actions light an explosive fuse that erupts at episode's end. Okay. Yes. Yes, correct. There's a ginormous fight. And I want to come back to that in a second. The very end of this episode, my heart broke, because you can see that Lestat is giving him an ultimatum. He's giving Louis, because Claudia does come back at the end, and he's giving him an ultimatum. And he says, what he ends up doing is they have this giant fight. Might as well just talk about production now. The production on this is amazing, guys. It's fucking amazing. Like, you've got the vampire speed, so they're like, Claudia's trying to figure out where they're on the house to break them up, but she can't find, because they're moving so fast. They're also just like literally destroying the house. So the house is falling in on itself as they're fighting. And the quote that broke me is, I have patiently waited in vain for you to love me as I love you. And that's Lestat to Louis. And let's just say, he didn't get his answer they wanted. I told you, fucking was not going to be happy at the end of this. It was like not going anywhere good. And from the previews for next week, it looks like we're getting farther apart. Like, it is not related whether or not Claudia is still a vampire and alive. We don't know. I'm assuming not, but we don't. It is there's no clues in modern, like in present storyline. I mean, I just know from previous, the movie and the book, that no, she's dead. But hey, it might change something. Hopefully they change this part. Just because I kind of want her to be alive, because as much as I didn't like her at first, I kind of love her now, because I feel so fucking bad for her. They look through her diary. Did I already say this? I don't know. They look through her diary, and it's the second time I fucking recorded this. They said, like, she wrote, will I be a virgin every fucking time I have sex? Will it grow back every time I have sex? Fuck me, that's awful. So anyhow, that's the episode, guys. It's fantastic, and it's ramping up to we good. All right, so ratings. Blood and gore. Fucking 2 for the toes and bodies and yeah. I was like, and the body's floating and blah. So yeah, I mean, and just the thought of like burying bodies, and because I don't know if you guys have ever seen those when it happens in New Orleans. I think maybe it wasn't New Orleans. Oh, any place that was below sea level. I know that they were like, if they buried them, that's why they stopped burying them in the ground, because certain parts with the during like floods and everything, it would erode the soil, and it would erode the sides of like cliff where they're like the bodies were buried and the coffins were sticking out. That's why that's why they're above ground now. So it's a thought of like her burying a body, and then just like all these bodies just like coming out in the street, and there's goddamn floating bodies all over the place. Barf, barf city. Um, let's see. Spooky, scary. I'm not gonna say it is scary. There is again, if you have trigger warnings and you are triggered by sexual assault, again, we don't see anything, but just be warned. So I'm gonna say on that one, 2, again, just because fucking creepy bodies flying around. Sex and nudity, 1. I mean, again, there's no sex, it's just implied. It's referenced to, so I'm gonna say 1 on that one. Fun and entertainment, I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm enjoying the fuck out of this. I would like to have Ween on at some point, and when this is all over, all said and done, I want her to watch it and give her, having read the book most recently and watched the movie, to get her her 2 cents, because as I was texting her tonight, she said it's pretty much just the characters' names at this point. That's just like taken off the story. But I think there has something to be said because about like I'm going to argue that a little bit, because for one, Anne Rice helped write this before she passed. So I'm assuming this was in development for many years, probably pre-COVID. So I'm sure she helped write it. She knew exactly what was happening. You've also moved it up at least 60 years into the, from when the movie is. I'm not sure what the book. Lestat here is not as old as Tom Cruise nor Lestat in the books. So, and you've got a black Louis. So there's going to be differences, and you've aged up your Claudia a little bit. So I'm okay with changes as long as they make sense, and it's so well written. Guys, these episodes are just beautiful. They're beautifully written. You make you think. They make you kind of question like things about like love and mortality and I mean, just because I was thinking about it when Daniel is so like adamant to say the public is going to make their own decisions. They're going to, like, think about that. Like, it doesn't matter what spin he puts on it. Think about the media today. Think about what side is going to have what in relation to vampires. Are they real? Well, yes, they are now. One's gonna have pitchforks and, and torches. The other one's gonna be like, hey, maybe we don't kill people, but we're cool with you guys. So I'm not gonna say politically who each one of those is. I'm just gonna say, think about that. He's 100% correct. So it doesn't matter what spin he puts on it. He could put like, they're evil, blah 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 blah, and there's going to be still people who are going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and there's still going to be people who are like devil spawn. It just depends on what your background is and what you think. Coming up, well, actually, we've just posted a review for Girl at the Window. We get an early screener that it comes out today. This is Friday, 11/4. I also was lucky enough to sit down with Mark Hartley, the director, and had a very short, brief, but very enjoyable conversation with him. He's delightful. And that is posted in our general feed. So anywhere you get your podcasts, if you're looking for the review, we did a video and we uploaded the video. So it's a video review, and we both enjoyed it. So That's up. You'll see me with interview before you see me on our next episode, but our next episode is going to be on the McPherson tapes and the visit. We just released 2 parts because we had to break it up because our discussion, we had the first one is on Halloween 3, and then we had a 2.5-hour discussion on Halloween Ends. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. All right. So that's it for this week. I will see you later. Keep it spooky.